Leandro Trossard, most of which will be familiar with the player, especially those who watch the Premier League on a regular basis. So, no need to cover who he is, but I'm sure you're keen to know why Arteta picked him above other transfer targets in that forward department, but also where he's going to fit in to this Arsenal side for that push for hopefully a Premier League title. Let's wait and see. Before breaking it all down, if you are feeling generous today, go ahead and like the video. Help me get it discovered, but also subscribe if you're new around here, as I'm pushing 2,500 subscribers, and your help will be greatly appreciated. Now, if you're not familiar with Trossard, let's cover a few basics. So, at the time of recording this video, he still plays for Brighton. However, for the upcoming fixture against Manchester United at the Emirates Stadium, that could change. Recently turning 28 in December, so still his peak years ahead of him in great physical condition. A Belgium international who can play a variety of positions, which we will cover in today's video. Predominantly, he likes to play on the left-hand side as well as a centre forward, right-footed, standing at 5'7". Now, his contract was due to expire this coming summer, but Brighton did have an option to extend by a further year, which in most circumstances they would have taken up. However, the player was pushing for a move due to a falling out with the Brighton manager, and it's probably that has led to a cut price. I do feel as though that price of £27 million, which is being reported by Fabrizio Romano, would have been significantly higher. The breakdown is 21 million up front with around 5 to 6 million in add-ons. So once the official announcement comes out, we'll see just how much money that is. And there are rumours floating around that the contract could be anywhere between 3.5 to 4.5 years. But let's have a look at the tactical ball to see where he might fit into this Arsenal side. As you can see on screen now, the typical Arsenal lineup, barring Jesus, who's currently out injured. But you would imagine that Trossard is going to operate in this left side role, whether that be a left winger, a left inside forward, maybe even a left wing back, which we'll touch on in just a moment. But another reason why Arteta has signed the player is because he can operate through the middle, giving Arsenal much more versatility in that forward lineup, but also options should he need to change the game. So this is how Arsenal would typically line up on paper. But where things get really interesting is when we look at Arsenal in that attacking third, because we know Arsenal like to attack with a front five, as you can see on screen, with Partey sitting at the base, White sitting just behind, sometimes tucking in, likewise with Zinchenko, playing as inverted fullbacks, if you will. But we're concentrating on the left-hand side. Now, when Jesus typically plays for Arsenal, very different to how Nketiah operates. And what I mean by that is Nketiah likes to stay centrally. Sometimes he drops deep to overload in midfield. What we see with Jesus is he comes out to this left-hand side. And this allows Martinelli to drift into this space here, operating as a false nine. And likewise, what we also sometimes see is Xhaka dropping a tad deeper and Martinelli dropping into this left half space. Zinchenko coming on that overlap, providing an option out wide. And this is exactly where Trossard likes to operate when playing for Brighton. He plays out on this left-hand side. He does come in as an inside forward as well. And there are 3 games in particular that I want to focus on from this season against bigger clubs. He loves to score goals against the bigger teams. And we're going to highlight each and every position that we've just discussed, whether it be left wing, whether it be centre forward, whether it be operating in that half space. Here are the heat maps. So as a centre forward against Chelsea earlier this season, he managed to bag himself a goal. We can see his heat map highlighted on that left-hand side. Now we can see he likes to drop a tad deep, getting involved in play, very similarly to the way Jesus does it when he plays as a centre forward. Not necessarily a false nine as such, but he does a very, very good job. But he does like to hover in that left half space. That's when he's playing centre forward. Now, when he played against Manchester City, as we can see here in the next heat map, they lost 3-1. However, Trossard was the one who managed to bag the goal. He was playing as more of a left midfielder / left wing back. Brighton operating with 3 centre backs in this particular fixture. And Trossard was given the task of playing up and down that left-hand side, but it didn't stop him from drifting into that left half space and causing Manchester City problems, where he eventually managed to score the goal. He won the ball back in midfield. He played it out wide. He drifted into that left half space and had a shot from distance. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. And then finally, probably performance of the season from Trossard, 3-3 at Anfield, scoring a hat-trick. No easy feat. Not many players managed to score that many goals at Anfield. But he played as... It was a unique position because it was a combination of a inside forward and an attacking midfield player, really, really looking to hone in on his strengths. And it was a position that allowed him to operate not only in that left half space, but as we'll see in some pictures in just a moment, he was popping up on that right-hand side, being given a little bit of freedom to operate in the attacking third where he's most dangerous. And then finally, we can see a combination of all of the positions that he's played across every game this season, whether it be as a centre forward, a left midfielder, an inside forward, an attacking midfield player on that right heat map there. And everything I've just said really does highlight exactly why Mikel Arteta chose Trossard as his second option behind Mudryk, just due to the sheer versatility that he offers across that front three. Whether or not he's playing as a left winger, whether or not he's playing as a centre forward, he can hurt an opposition in multiple different areas. And this is highlighted in these 4 pictures. Now, we can see in the first picture on the top left corner, this is the goal that he scored against Chelsea. He actually passes the ball to the player to his left-hand side. And we can see here that Brighton player is making a run towards the left side of the 18-yard box, dragging players with him, asking the question of the defenders. And then what Trossard does, very intelligent, he makes a similar run. And then at the very last second, after he's dragged defenders out of position, he sharp turns to the right-hand side, creating space for himself in that centre-forward role. And he manages to round the goalkeeper and score, which was fantastic. Very tricky player. On the right-hand side in the top corner, we can see Trossard here scoring from distance. This was against Manchester City. As I previously mentioned, he helped win the ball in midfield before spraying the ball out to the left-hand side. Now he's operating in that left half space with so much space. You cannot allow a player like Trossard this much time on the ball, especially when he's having the season that he's having and the quality that he provides in that final third. A huge, huge threat, and he manages to bag himself a goal. And then finally, in the bottom left-hand corner, I just wanted to highlight one of the goals here that he scores, because he's literally on the periphery of both the Liverpool defenders' eye line and behind Henderson where he can't see him. So he's operating in a really tight space, but just onside, manages to turn as he receives the ball and score a goal against Liverpool at Anfield. And this was on the left-hand side where on paper he was supposed to line up, if you will. And then in the final picture, we can see here in the same game, and this is what I meant by allowing him that freedom, that creative freedom, that attacking freedom. He pops up on the right-hand side this time, a cross coming in from the left. Defenders can't see where he is. He's playing in the shadows, if you will. He gets to the ball and he manages to score himself another goal, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, some of the other reasons why Arteta will have wanted to sign Trossard is looking at some of his strengths and looking at some of his biggest threats. He is one of the top players in the Premier League this season for interceptions and ball recoveries in the final third, which will play massively into Arteta's hands. As we know, Arsenal are a high-press team, not allowing many teams time and space to pick their passes and build up in possession. So Leandro Trossard here is ticking a lot of boxes. And when we look at his attacking stats for this season in terms of the percentile that he fits into across the Premier League, some really good stats is non-penalty XG, non-penalty goals, and also deep touches. So there are plenty of positives that you can take from this graph provided by Canon Stats. And you can see just why Arteta looked at Trossard as a number 2 compared to Mudryk. But more importantly, how does he compare to Saka, Martinelli, and other wingers who are having fantastic seasons in the Premier League? Because a lot of people are asking the question, is Trossard coming in as depth, cover, and backup, as well as competition? And I think what a lot of people need to understand, even if we had signed Mudryk, neither of these two players will have started ahead of Martinelli or Saka due to the seasons that they're having. It's to add depth, quality, and competition across those front 3 positions. But here we can see highlighted some of the stats, some of the strengths, some of the weaknesses, and how it compares to other top wingers in the Premier League this season. Having scored 7 goals in 16 starts, very fair across the board, comparing to the likes of Martinelli, Saka, Rashford, and Almiron. And also that conversion rate is actually slightly higher at 28% compared to Martinelli and Saka. So does that mean he's going to be more of a threat when it comes to shooting in that final third? 2 assists this season, which is on par with Martinelli, not quite there with Saka, who is having one hell of a season, but very comparable to the likes of Rashford and Almiron. Chances created, 23, so not a million miles away from those Arsenal players, but significantly better than Rashford and Almiron. And when it comes to crossing, much, much better than Martinelli and the other 2 players outside of Arsenal as well. Take on success, not as good. Definitely needs some work, in my opinion. And also his dual success, very good aerially for a player that's not too tall and physical, shall we say, but ground duels is something that he will certainly need to work on. Arteta coming out recently and highlighting the significance in why he likes players who win lots and lots and lots of duels. But feel free to pause the video at this point. There is a lot of data and a lot of stats on screen to digest. I've just highlighted some of the positives and negatives that Leandro Trossard could bring to Arsenal. If he does sign, it does only seem like a matter of time. But that's going to about wrap things up for today's player analysis. The first signing of the January transfer window for Arsenal. Will we see more? If we do, you bet it will be covered on Arsenal Analysed. And as already mentioned, if you have enjoyed today's video, do go ahead and smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new around here. I hope you have enjoyed and learned something from today's video. But for now, I'm JC, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe and take care.